What's up, YouTube? Blue Collar Crypto here coming at you. Today's video is going to be kind of a political video, not really covering cryptocurrency too much. So if you're only following me or watching for cryptocurrency, then might not be interested. But some of my viewers came from watching a live broadcast from Australia, and this is going to give maybe a sort of like blue collar Americans perspective into some big news going on inside the United States that's getting covered in the international media, and really start to break down exactly what's going on in this situation. And for the fun of it, at some points in this video, I'm going to try to slip into a good Alex Jones impression, which is going to make this all the more fun. So first of all, I want to talk about the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting that we've all heard about from here to Afghanistan, and then the Austin serial bombings, which have made the national news but haven't been covered nearly as much. And if you're in another country, you may not have heard about. So, most of you, of course, know what happened at Stoneman Douglas. The guy came in with an AR-15 and shot and killed 17 students, and there's been a subsequent walkouts and demonstrations and protests regarding gun control. The Second Amendment supporters and the conservatives and the NRA have got making their arguments, and it's really taken the gun control debate and gun violence awareness right to the forefront in the United States right now. And there's a lot of different sort of opinions on how to deal with it. Now, the Austin serial bombing, I'm going to get into this a little more because this is the one you might not know as much about. So apparently this guy who I just learned his name and I already forgot it, but needless to say, is a 23-year-old kid, basically, a guy, man, whatever, young guy. And starting on here, you guys know how to read. This is the Wikipedia page here. Starting on March the 2nd, basically this guy was planting bombs with tripwires randomly around Austin, and they were exploding and killing people. And the FBI and all the investigators, law enforcement, they tracked him down, and he blew himself up with the 5th bomb and killed himself, and basically the threat's over. Now, both of these things are very scary. Both of them, I want to contend, are instances of domestic terrorism. Make no mistake about it, the action creates fear in the society. But I would almost contend that from a purely domestic terrorism point of view, the Austin serial bombing is a lot more threatening because it wasn't one attack. Now, I realize that the Stoneman Douglas shooting, the death toll was higher, but it was one instance, right? The Stoneman Douglas shooter, we can't really say it was likely that if he would have gotten away with this and not been, detained or whatever, would he have gone and shot up another place? You see my point? So the Austin serial bombing is kind of more scary because if this guy wasn't caught, he would have kept doing it. So as far as just a purely act of terrorism is concerned, this is more concerning to me than the Stoneman Douglas high school shooting. But let's really start unpacking this now, because I want to talk about how the media, and really the mainstream media in America, is covering this. So now a little Alex Jones. Okay, guys, first you got to understand that the mainstream media is completely controlled by the globalists and the globalist agenda and the anti-American agenda. And the global media wants to push the gun control agenda, and it's going to use every tragedy, every case of death and violence to politicize their agenda, to hijack the students and the victims, to put them on display, to use them as instruments for their horrible anti-American agenda. Okay, now that's a bit of an exaggeration, but we did notice that for those of us who watch the CNN town hall, and while I'm sitting here, I'm going to look this up, because the CNN town hall about gun control, it took people like, for God's sakes, how am I gonna talk when Conan O'Brien is trying to sumo wrestle this big guy with his ass hanging out? Like, I can't do it. Sorry, guys. Let's just CNN town hall here, okay? This interview right here, I want to play this and talk about it. Not interview, this kid here. Where's my volume at? Okay, here we go. Now, I'm not sure who this young man is on the left, but Cameron Gasky, who is a student at Stoneman Douglas, and CNN has basically got him asking a question to Marco Rubio, but let's just get into it.
Senator Rubio, it's hard to look at you and not look down the barrel of an AR-15 and not look at Nicholas Cruz. But the point is, you're here, and there are some people who are not.
Okay, that right there was incredibly insulting and offensive. No doubt about it. I don't care where you stand on the gun control debate, whether you think that we need to ban guns completely or whether you think that all guns should be legal and accessible. The fact that this young man basically said to Rubio that because Marco Rubio is a conservative who supports the Second Amendment, that somehow he is tied in with the mass shooting at Stoneman Douglas is absolutely absurd. To imply that somehow that Marco Rubio doesn't care. And what bothers me the most about this is look at this guy's expression right here. The smirk. The smirk. He knows how wrong this is and how insulting it is, but he likes it. Hold on, I got a call coming in I'm ignoring, so I keep the video going. But in any other context, if any other political opponent or person said something like this to Marco Rubio, Rubio would stand up and defend himself and say that's insulting, that's wrong. But simply because this guy Cameron Cascade is a kid, he's a junior in high school, and he survived a tragedy, he can basically say whatever he wants. And it's okay because we take him with a grain of salt. But you got to remember, CNN is putting this on display. CNN is picking out the people who are going to be on their stage. CNN, I even heard, was like pre-reading the questions and stuff. Maybe this kid went completely off script, but the fact that this happened just kind of, it seems very agenda driven. And this is all going to tie into the Austin serial bombing issue and how it was covered by the media. We're just going to get into it.
And I need to ask two things of you. Number one, Chris Grady, can you stand up? This is my friend who's going to the military. I need you to tell him that he's going to live to make it to serve our country. And then we'll get to the other one.
Now notice Rubio's reaction, because Rubio doesn't want to be rude, and he's really on a very tough stage right now. Everyone hates him. But that is a ridiculous question. How in God's name is Marco Rubio ever going to guarantee that this one particular kid out of millions of kids in America is going to live? I mean, yeah, 99% chance he's going to live, but he might die in a car accident. He might get the flu. He might fall off a building. We don't know. So what is Rubio supposed to say here? Well, we understand what the kid's looking for. It's an unanswerable question. It's almost rhetorical. It's putting Rubio on the spot, and the kid's basically trying to make a fool out of Rubio. Let's see what happens.
Not only are you going to live to serve our country, you and all of you have a chance to change our country.
Rubio's a seasoned politician and immediately pivots. Not bad.
Change not just our laws, but the way we talk about our laws. So absolutely.
Thank you. And guys,
very good answer. I mean, if you're somebody who likes politics, Rubio's answer to that absurd, ridiculous question and that good pivot, excuse me, that good pivot, just that was solid on Rubio.
Look, this isn't about red and blue. We can't boo people because they're Democrats and boo people because they're Republicans. Anyone who's willing to show change, no matter.
Now, I'm sorry, Cameron, but that is some disingenuous bullshit. If you believed any of that, this isn't a red and blue issue rhetoric, your opening statement wouldn't have conflated a conservative politician with the violent, savage serial killer. You understand? So this is bullshit right now, and we all see it and we all understand it.
Or where they're from, anybody who's willing to start to make a difference is somebody we need on our side here. And this is about people who are for making a difference to save us and people who are against it and prefer money. So, Senator Rubio, can you tell me right now that you will not accept a single donation from the NRA in the future?
Okay, a question that, given the audience, was going to get a standing ovation and a lot of claps. But again, it is politically not feasible for Marco Rubio to not accept donations from the NRA. The NRA is a pretty big organization here in America, and they have a political viewpoint. They interpret the Constitution very literally with regard to the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. And in the United States of America, they have every right to behave that way and to donate to political campaigns. There's lots of political organizations in the United States that donate to political campaigns, Democrats, Republicans, and he's asking Marco Rubio to cut off one of his major donators, which of course is going to make him a lot less competitive in his elections and his work as a politician. So it's just not feasible. But really, why should he? Well, in their opinion, he should, because the NRA is somehow responsible for the shooting that occurred. Maybe not directly responsible, but at least responsible for the environment that allows there to be so many powerful weapons so readily available. And maybe there is some truth to this argument in some abstraction. To completely conflate every NRA member, every NRA supporter with someone, the shooting is completely overstated, and it really just discredits the other side of the argument, at least in my opinion. And I think what's most off-putting about this is I'm 30 years old. I'm getting a little older here, and this crowd is full of a lot of young people. And what I don't like is just the sort of follower mentality. We clap at this. We don't clap for this person. We clap for this person. We clap for this thing. And if you go back and look at the way the clap developed here, and I'm really breaking this down, is it wasn't like an immediate standing ovation. It was sort of gradual, and the rest of the crowd sort of just followed along. Watch.
You will not accept a single donation from the NRA in the future.
All right. A few get up, and still getting up. Okay. I guess we're supposed to clap now. Okay, keep clapping. Yeah, we're supposed to clap.
I wish I could have spoken. I wish I could have asked the NRA lady a question. I wish the NRA lady I could have talked to, because I would ask her how she can look in the mirror, considering the fact that she has children. But maybe she avoids those.
What is that? I'm sorry.
I don't freaking know.
That's okay. The question is about NRA money. So
and the audience was like, "That's too far," and then he lost everybody. They were with him for a while with the ridiculous statements, but that last one was just way too far. You don't attack a mother and her children. You can say what you want about Dana Loesch, but hold on. I got a phone call coming in. We're just gonna mute this for a second. All right.
One, the positions
I'm back.
I hold on.
So, as I was saying, the guy, you can't attack a mother and her children. And Dana Loesch, you know, you might not like anything about her politics, but you know, she's her kids are okay. They're being raised. Don't attack a mother and her kids. Too far, kid.
On these issues of the Second Amendment, I've held since the day I entered office in the city of West Miami as an elected official.
Okay, and anyway, you're going to see another political sort of like pivot by Rubio. He answers the question like a seasoned politician, yada, 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 not too exciting. But now I want to get into how this ties into the sort of lack of media coverage of the Austin serial bombing. See, with regard to this gun control debate and mass shootings, the liberals and people on the left side of the political sphere are like, we need more gun control. There's too many guns around, and less guns, less violence. Let's get rid of the guns. And the conservatives are like, hey, wait a second. The United States Constitution is unique. We have the Second Amendment, which gives us the right to, you know, keep and bear arms. And why are you infringing on our rights that we're entitled to based on the amendments? And it's kind of important. And if you look at some of the statistics, a lot of the places in America that have higher gun control laws have higher instances of gun violence. I'm not going to get into all the details of why and how and this and that, but so it's not a cut and dry issue. And then the conservatives say, and besides, if this guy Nicholas Cruz didn't have a AR-15, he could have used a bomb, a knife, or any other weapon. If you're a terrorist, you don't need a gun. Well, doesn't the Austin serial bombing kind of like make that argument for conservatives in a sense? I mean, not directly, but if you're just talking about the perception of society, and in America we've had shootings, we've talked about gun control, and then we have a bombing like this, it's like, wait a second, maybe it is a culture problem. Or maybe at the very least it's a gun and culture problem. And that's what I think, is in the United States of America, we have too many guns for the culture we have now. You go back 50 or 60 years ago, lots of people had guns in America. We had guns everywhere, but something about our culture was different, and there weren't like these mass shootings and this massive amount of like inner city gang violence and this nonsense, and something has changed. And so does that necessitate new gun laws? Maybe, but in my opinion, what I think the mainstream media did after the Stoneman Douglas shooting was to highlight the children at the school who were politically active, saying things in line with the more liberal agenda, people like David Hodge and Emma Gonzalez, and interview them, put them on the forefront, make them popular as a means to kind of push against the Republicans in general. I mean, CNN is, Donald Trump calls them the fake news media. I don't go that far, but CNN is biased to the left in a lot of its coverage of the Trump administration. It's about as biased to the left as Fox is biased to the right, if you're watching from another country here and you're just trying to put it in context. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on it. There were some inferences that the lack of media attention on the Austin serial bombings was because the victims were African American, and I believe the first two victims were black, and so it seemed at first like that there might be some truth to that, but the following victims I think were white and Hispanic, and the bomber's method was completely random, so these weren't targeted based on ethnicity or anything like that. And I think just the lack of media coverage, because it's like not gun violence, gave the sort of impression that it might be racially oriented, and it really wasn't. So again, if you're watching from another country, I keep that in mind. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to sign out here.